Hi everyone, this is Jeff from Step by Step Coding, and we are covering the top 100 C Sharp interview questions. And today we are going to talk about question number 7, where we will talk about difference between method overloading versus method overriding. Now, before I jump into the details, I just wanted to let you know, folks, that if you have not visited any of my previous episodes, I would highly recommend you start from the question number 1. In previous episode as well, I touch base the polymorphism, which is pretty related with this topic. So if you have not done it, please go through, take a look. Feel free to add some comments or questions if you have any. Now let's dive in right away. So once again, the topic today is that we are going to discuss about the difference between method overloading versus method overriding. And it's very important question as well as important topic. Interviewer always ask, if you are going for a C sharp, the interview. So what I have done, instead of starting with the theoretical, right, to explain what is the difference, let's start with the real sample, real the examples, how method overloading and overriding works. So let's start with overloading. So I have a sample class document editor, and what it does, that the functionality is, think about it, that you are saving a document, okay, and you have different variations. So you have three save methods, all are having the different variation. So the first one is having no argument at all, and think about is that it provides a default save. The second one, it takes one argument, new file name, and the idea is that it is going to let you to save the file with a new name. And the third one, which is having a file name as a argument as well as a boolean variable to upload the same file on the cloud. So three different variation, method name is same. The key thing is that you have exactly the same method name, but your arguments, your signature, right, is different. That is how you do the method overloading. And why you do that? It gives you the flexibility. It allows you to use the same functionality in different ways. Just like here, that depending on your need, right, you can use any one of these, the three functions. Now let's jump into another sample and take a look right away. We have another sample class, store search. So think about it, that you have got a store and then you have a search functionality. You have to build a search functionality, but then your need is having covering the different use cases. In first one, you want to give a capability to search by keyword. In second one, you want to give a search but within like category itself, right? And then the third one, where you want to search by item ID. And then the last one, you can have, let's say that you want to give a keyword, but at the same time you also want to give a filter that it's between this price to this price. So again, same concept here. You have same the method name, but your arguments, your parameters are different. Okay, so that is how you do the method overloading. Okay, now let's jump into method overriding. So in method overriding, we have a base class. The way you do that, you will have a base class and then you will have one method which is marked with a virtual keyword, and then you will define the derived class, and then the same method which is marked with the virtual, you will put a override keyword, and then what actually you will do, you will put your own implementation. So this is how you do the overriding. You are actually overriding this method, overriding the method of the base class. Okay, In other words, you are providing a custom implementation. So in this case, animal is base class, dog is derived class, then you have another derived class which is a cat, and then you have another derived class rooster, and all these derived class are having their own implementation. So this is how you do the method overriding. This is how you do the override. Okay, so what is the conclusion? I mean, if somebody asks what is the overloading, what is the overriding, right? So let's try to define it. Now we have gone through the samples, right, and examples, and we understand how to define what, but how you will define it. So in simple terms, overloading is the ability to define multiple methods with the same name but with different signatures within the same class. A method signature consists of its name and types of its parameters. On another words, right, it gives a flexibility. It gives a flexibility and gives a different variation. Now, what exactly is the overriding? Overriding occurs when a derived class changes or customizes the behavior of a method inherited from a base class. That is how you do the overriding. Now let's take a look, the quickly side by side comparison before we wrap up this episode. So in method overloading, you define multiple methods and your signature are different. In overriding, you actually define a new implementation. You don't define a different method. You have the same method, but you do a different implementation. You write a different logic, different code within your base class. Relationship, you do not need any relationship in order to do the method overloading, but in overriding, relationship has to be there, inheritance has to be there. You need one base class and you need one, the derived class. Okay, method signature, you will need to have the different signature, and signature means that you can have the different the arguments, the return type and all that things. Method overriding, you need virtual and override keyword. Okay, so keywords modifier, no special keywords you need. I mean, you don't need any keyword to identify that this is method overloading. All you need, the different the different variation of the same method names. But in overriding, I mean, you will be able to identify, and the keywords is that in base class you will have virtual, and in derived class you will have the override. Now binding resolution, what actually it means that how compiler resolve to which function it's going to call. So the overloading, method overloading is compile time polymorphism or static binding. Compiler already know that which method to call based on the arguments. Method overriding is actually the runtime polymorphism. Only at a runtime it determines that which behavior, which function to call, and that's it. That's wraps up the differences between method overloading and method overriding. If you like the content, please go ahead, subscribe, and feel free to write any questions or comments if you have any on these topics. Thanks for watching.